Welcome everyone to the Universe Speaks, a wrestling podcast. I am your host, Christopher Andrews, and this week I am joined by Sammy Rose in the co-host chair. Hi, Sammy.
Hello.
This is a special week. We're going to get a different perspective on the world of professional wrestling and sports entertainment.
You're going to get a noob's perspective.
A noob's perspective. Perspective of a noob.
Yes, thank you for explaining that to them. I'm sure they didn't know what that meant.
Sounds like a good time. So, this episode, we are going to have a little chat, a little discussion, a little powwow.
Oh my god.
Back and forth about the second coming of the Women's Revolution and how there's stuff happening on both Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live in moving and shaking in the women's division. I know you have an interesting perspective on the backstage segment that took place on Monday Night Raw revolving around Paige's new group Absolution, that would be Paige and Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose, and with Alexa Bliss. So, take it away. Tell me, what were you feeling while you were watching
Why are
this?
you telling me to take it away? No,
Because I'm
this
giving you the
No,
microphone.
you're a terrible host.
I'm not.
You are. And you know what else is terrible? The name Absolution.
Why do you feel like the name Absolution is terrible? I kind of like it, personally.
Why?
I'm not just doing it to be devil's advocate.
Why do you like it?
It's easy for us
It's
wrestling
easy
fans.
for your low IQ brain to understand.
Yes. One word, and, I think that it plays into it.
I don't know, it has 3 syllables.
I know,
Can you
but
handle 3
I
syllables?
can. It's one word, but I think it plays into a bigger picture, and I think that the bigger topic of the women and the new women's evolution round 2 is going to be the absolute domination of this group that is splitting both Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live. I think that down the road we see Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan team up, the Riot Squad, as they're known as, team up with Paige and Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose. And I think that it is the absolute changing of the guard in the women's division. That's why I like the term Absolution.
Why didn't they just name themselves Changing of the Guard?
Too many words. Well, you got to think about it. Think about, I know that you're a noob, but think about professional wrestling stables in the past. You have 4 horsemen. Okay?
You remember? I remember. You remember 4 horsemen?
I remember 4 horsemen.
I remember berries.
You have the 4 horsemen. You have Evolution. You have Degeneration X. You have the New World Order. See, we're not adding lots and lots of words to these stable names. It's 1, 2, or 3 words here, and it's basic, simple, and to the point, and I think that that's what Absolution is.
I think that's what all of wrestling is simple words spelled directly into the microphone. Kevin Owens runs the show.
So in Absolution, which, like I said, I think is a good name, who are you most looking forward to seeing work on a regular basis? Is it Paige? Is it Mandy Rose? Is it Sonya Deville? And why?
Well, it was interesting to hear Paige talk because I heard you and Ryan talking about her all the time because she's so hot. And I didn't know she was Australian.
No, not even close. She's from England.
No, she's not.
Yes, she is.
She has a very Yorkshire accent.
She's from Liverpool?
Oh, okay.
Possibly. She's from England.
Okay. That's a very northern accent. It's not very posh.
Lots of plans to have a north.
Though she's not very posh. The first thing she does is lick the audience.
Yeah. I think that Paige has come back, and this is not a sex thing, but she looks better than ever.
No, she's hot. Like, it's not like an arguable fact.
She's hot, but I think that she also is in better ring shape than when she left. I think that she has more drive and more passion in the past 2 weeks that she's been back on television than she had in the previous 2 months.
She needs to get over
4 months, year.
Piece of crap boyfriend she got associated with. She needs to reestablish herself as the matriarch.
Alberto El Patron, for those of you, or Alberto Del Rio, who For those of you that may not be keeping up with the relationships of the superstars, yes, they were in quite a
soap opera.
That would be a good word. Quite a soap opera of a relationship for quite a while, and they are finally broken up, hopefully for good, and so that Paige can continue to be the best superstar that she can be, and Alberto El Patron can go and crawl in a hole, and nobody can see him again. Because that would be a fun thing. I wouldn't mind it.
Now, I didn't watch Paige wrestle much. I mean, I watched her hit Bailey, but poor Bailey. And I want to see the MMA one. Although she has this thing, we haven't talked about it. This thing where after she hits someone, she always says, "Yeah, baby," it sounds like to me. I don't know. Yeah, baby!
That's Adam Cole. Baby!
I didn't understand that. When we were at we were at Starrcade, and they kept saying, "Adam Cole, baby!" And I have no idea what that's in reference to.
It's his catchphrase.
Who's Adam Cole?
Adam Cole is on NXT, just recently signed with NXT. Him and Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly formed the Undisputed Era. And they are making...
Another name.
They are making a splash down in NXT. They just won the rebooted War Games. You saw that. We watched that.
But anyway, I want to see the MMA one, because I remember seeing her on NXT.
That's Sonya Deville.
Yeah, because she makes me think of Dalmatians whenever I see her. It's okay, my IQ is decreasing as well.
This is a special episode of The Universe Speaks, a wrestling podcast.
Where we try to kill Sammy's IQ?
Yeah, where we already have delved into the 101 Dalmatians.
That's where my IQ is sitting right now.
Yeah.
Yes, and also the fact that she is the gay one, right?
She is. She is a lesbian.
Which Chris knows excites me.
Yes.
Yeah.
They fired Darren Young, who was the first openly gay WWE superstar, arguably the first openly gay WWE superstar, and they brought up...
I have opinions about other ones.
It's not what I was mentioning. More along the lines of somebody like a Pat Patterson, but we digress. So they fire him, and they bring up Sonya Deville, who, if anybody watched the rebooted version of Tough Enough a few years ago that she competed on, she was open about her sexual orientation on that show when she was performing under her given name and not the stage name of Sonya Deville.
Do you know why she picked Deville?
I don't think that she picked it. I think
that makes sense.
I think it was a WWE NXT creative team choice.
Well, Chris knows I'm happy with any LGBTQ plus representation.
Yeah, remember the plus.
Yeah. Anything on TV or in popular culture. In fact, on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, apparently one of the characters just came out as bisexual, and it was this huge thing, and it was awesome.
I don't watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Neither do I. So we're going to segue right off of that.
I'm glad that we brought up Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Shout out to Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
And the other one, not Sonya, not Paige.
Mandy Rose.
Right, Mandy Rose. Am I supposed to know her?
She was also on that Tough Enough season with Sonya Deville. And Paige was the coach, or one of the coaches, one of the judges on that season. Neither one of those women won. The woman that actually won, I believe her name was Sarah something. She won, and she was down in NXT for a while, but she was just released because her and the Blake and Murphy that's not with Alexa Bliss, they just had a baby. So congratulations to her. So she was released from the contract because, she was pregnant, and
you can't moonsplash when you're pregnant.
Yeah, and also
you could.
The male contestant that won, his name was Josh. He was released recently, and somebody that wasn't released recently that was on that show as well, that's making a big name for himself down in NXT, the Velveteen Dream, Patrick Clark. See, we proved that not always the winner of Tough Enough is the one that has the best future in professional wrestling.
You just missed your chance to say the winner of Tough Enough is not always tough enough to make it in professional wrestling. So, Mandy Rose, am I supposed to know her, though?
No, she wasn't even on NXT television very often, which is one of those weird things. I mean, same thing happened over on SmackDown Live with Sarah Logan. Sarah Logan was in the Mae Young Classic, but she really wasn't on NXT television. So it's weird that those two were chosen to be brought up to the main roster when you have somebody like a Peyton Royce or a Billie Kay, someone like a Nikki Cross or an Ember Moon. They might not necessarily have fit in those groups. But
well, Nikki, I feel like would have been fine in Paige's group.
Having 2 of the 6 new female superstars not really have a presence on NXT, there are a lot of people that have that same question. I don't think that it's a silly question of, am I supposed to know her?
Well, I didn't think it was.
No, I don't think that you are supposed to know her unless you're a diehard. And as we established, you're a noob. Which is why
I think that during the awkwardest segment of all time, not all time, Alexa Bliss going, "It was nice to meet you." Awkward pause, awkward pause, awkward pause, awkward pause, awkward pause. I said, "It was nice to meet you." I think Mandy was the one who was supposed to hit her.
Yeah, I really think that something was supposed to happen. We talked about it when it happened. We talked about it over the past couple weeks now. I think somebody went up on a line. And I think that all 6
I don't
of them,
think it was a line. I think
them,
someone just forgot to punch somebody.
Yeah, somebody
They were waiting for a cue or something.
Yeah.
I'm sure Alexa was hitting herself afterward with all the things that she could have said, which, us being the theater folk and doing the improv know exactly how that feels.
Yeah, I think somebody definitely missed a cue back there. And I think that...
Chris said that Paige's eyes rolled in her head. I didn't see that. I just saw Alexa Bliss glaring death daggers, going, "Hit me already."
Yeah, it was weird, and anytime that they've shown it since, they haven't shown the entire awkward segment. They just showed the second time through where there actually was a punch. So, in one respect, I know we talked about it, that I can see why they did it twice, and I could see how it could have been scripted that they needed to do it twice, because it's nice to meet you. We're not going to respond to you. It's nice to meet you.
But if that was the case, Alexa Bliss would have given a different delivery because she's too good to be
Yeah.
Who sucks? Roman Reigns sucks.
Roman Reigns. We can talk about Roman Reigns and how recently he has come out and said that he is the most talented performer on the roster. And Triple H has also come out and said that he is the most talented performer on the roster.
If you follow us,
you know that we are not the biggest Roman Reigns fans, but since the Shield has gotten back together, and since Roman has gone away with the mumps for a while...
Not the mumps is stupid, but the fact that the Shield got back together, I think, is stupid.
Why?
Because, my South Park...
Again, another 2-worded stable name, The Shield.
All of it has to be, references to, war terms also. Absolution, retribution... Battle, what is it? Battle, Bludgeon Brothers.
Bludgeon Brothers, yeah.
It's because you need that testosterone in there. Just so that the men will listen and be like, "Oh, I heard a word that means manly. I should like this."
Hey, not only do I watch Monday Night Raw, but we just got done watching the Great British Bake Off. So, you need to calm yourself down with these stereotypes about men.
Yes, well, men should balance it between their wrestling and their baking.
That's why I'm a man. And Ryan Richards, you are not. You are not a man.
Anyway, what did you want to say about Roman Reigns claiming to be the best, most talented wrestler person right now?
He's not.
Good, was that it?
That's about it. I definitely think that the Shield reunion has helped him. I think that going away and being sick for a while helped him.
We heard an audience cheer for him the other night, didn't we?
Yes, we have heard the audience cheer for him the past few weeks. And after he won the Intercontinental title from The Miz, the following week he came out and the audience actually chanted, "You deserve it, you deserve it, you deserve it."
Which was confusing.
Yeah, but I think what's happening is that the popularity of Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose is actually rubbing off on Roman Reigns. I think that as soon as the Shield breaks up, spoiler alert, I think they're going to be breaking up real soon, especially now that it's WrestleMania season and Roman's going for the Universal title.
They've already started breaking up when Seth's like, "Me and Dean are going to go win the tag team titles." Not to third wheel you, Roman. You could win the Mrs. title.
Yeah.
And then he does.
And then he does, but I think that once this Shield reunion is over, people are going to go back to booing Roman Reigns. And one of the questions that always gets asked, especially on Busted Open, that I always want to call into, but I'm working during the time, why don't you like Roman Reigns? And people call in and they're like, he's boring. And people call in and go, I don't like him. He beat The Undertaker. And the response is always, well, you got to give me more than that.
Okay, because also, he's the kind of macho that I hate, too. He's just like a cocky macho, but he's not charming. He's not charming me. I have girlfriends who absolutely love him, and I don't get it. They call him sexy and attractive, and he is not my kind of sexy and attractive. But I feel like that's why the ladies like him, is because apparently he's sexy with all that greasy hair. I don't know. I'm not a lady.
No, you're a strong, independent woman who don't need no man.
Or woman.
Except for Christopher Andrews. But I, again, digress from the topic. Here's the answer to why I don't like Roman Reigns. Why I don't like Roman Reigns. Why I don't think that Roman Reigns is the face of the company, no matter how many times they push us down our throat, or push him down our throat, or decide that he's going to be the man, or the dog, or the guy, or whatever we're going to call him this week, is because the fans don't want it. And then you look at me and go, well, that's not a good answer. That is a good answer.
He's broccoli. They keep trying to make us eat it.
Yeah, that's perfect example. Vince keeps saying, this is your guy, this is your guy, this is your guy. And the fans, people don't want it. So it doesn't matter how good he is. And yes, he is a good professional wrestler. Scratch that. He is a good sports entertainer. Okay? The question always comes up, when was the last time there was a bad Roman Reigns match? When was there a bad Roman Reigns match? The past 2 weeks with Elias and Jason Jordan. He put over other guys that were struggling to get over.
It's when he opens his mouth that I just get, like, whenever he walks out with a microphone in his hand, I want to throw the microphone away.
Yeah. To me, you have to allow the audience to make some decisions. The reason that Daniel Bryan is so over, even though he hasn't wrestled in 2 years, is because the audience decided that that was their guy. It was an organic push. It was an organic grow and build, and that's what people wanted to see. And that's why people continue to chant yes and continue to chant no and continue to go crazy for him, even though he is not an active superstar anymore. And that is why people continue to push back on Roman Reigns and will continue to push back on Roman Reigns after the Shield is over, is because he's broccoli. He is being told, this is for you, this is for you, this is for you, this is for you. And we know that he is good enough. We know that he's fine. He can be the guy, but we don't want to accept it.
This is why I think of the member berries reference that I made earlier. Why is Vince pushing him so much, or Triple H pushing him so much? Is it because they remind him of the wrestlers of old?
Yeah. I think that there is a lineage there. I mean, the Samoan heritage, being the son of one of the Wild Samoas, being the brother of a former professional wrestling superstar, being cousins with The Rock, I think that he does remind them. And, you know, no matter what, no matter how many independent wrestlers the WWE brings in, no matter how many shows NXT runs, or now 205 Live will be running live in their own tour.
Dear God, help them.
The fact of the matter is that the WWF, WWE has always been the land of giants, has always been the land of characters, has always been the land of a certain look to be a superstar. And yes, over the past 6 or 7 years, there has been a shift in that, and we've seen guys like CM Punk, or Daniel Bryan, or Seth Rollins, or Dean Ambrose get over, where we want to put over guys like Roman Reigns, or a guy like a Braun Strowman, or a guy like...
Well, Braun Strowman is over because he killed Roman Reigns once.
But again, Braun Strowman is over because it was an organic push that the fans decided that they were going to like Braun Strowman. When Braun Strowman...
Partially because he mashed the broccoli in an ambulance truck.
When Braun Strowman showed up originally as part of the reborn Wyatt family, it was like, oh God, this guy is awful. This guy is terrible. He's not ready. He was another
He's
early
not a
call-up.
bludgeon, brother.
Yeah, he was an early call-up from NXT. And, it wasn't working. And then he got split up from the Wyatt family in the Superstar Shakeup, or the original, or not original, but the redrafting brand draft. And he came out and just squashed no-name competitors. He squashed the jobbers. He squashed James Ellsworth.
Yeah.
Multiple times. And people were like, oh, this is fun. This is exciting. And then he has improved by leaps and bounds. And I think that he is a guy that should be main eventing WrestleMania over Roman Reigns. I think that Roman Reigns is fine in the Intercontinental title picture. To be perfectly honest with you, I understand why Roman Reigns got the title from The Miz. The Miz went away to film a movie. I think that that's where he belongs. I think that your main event of WrestleMania, which unfortunately we already saw at No Mercy, but I truly think that the main event should be Brock Lesnar and Braun Strowman. And I think that Braun Strowman should go over Brock Lesnar and not just get beaten by one F5.
Speaking of James Ellsworth and going off to movies and the women that we got sidetracked from. So, Becky Lynch died in a door, which, side note, I did that to my brother once by accident. With his head in the door. He wasn't happy. Now, I don't know the ladies so much. I know Ruby Riott, but who are the other two?
Well, the blonde is Liv Morgan, former girlfriend of Enzo.
Carmella's sister in another body?
Yes, kind of. They did have a little back and forth. It wasn't... Liv Morgan's from Jersey, and Carmella's from Staten Island, so it's very
You think
similar.
you're better than me?
Yeah, it's very similar. And then Sarah Logan, who wrestled on the independent scenes as Crazy Mary Dobson, and then was brought in right before the Mae Young Classic. Then there were some rumors that she had been released, and then she ended up competing in the Mae Young Classic, and then all of a sudden she's on SmackDown Live. So, yeah, it had to have been a weird year for her. It had to have been a weird year. But yeah, they're on SmackDown. They're the Riot Squad with 2 T's now, because Vince doesn't like words that only have 1 T at the end of their name, I guess.
Do you know why? Because T stands for testosterone.
And Vince has it in double.
And since she's a lady, they need to put more testosterone in her name.
So, yeah, they're on SmackDown. I thought that Becky Lynch, I think that was probably the best, and I'm a big Becky Lynch fan, but I think that was the best that Becky Lynch ever sold something.
That was good. That made me feel for her. That was like a, ooh.
Yeah, and then
I think they actually hit her.
Yeah, and then the following week they beat up Naomi, which makes me happy, because the Glow title, alright? That toy. That stupid championship belt that isn't a championship, it's toy.
We saw Naomi come out at Starrcade. She looked a little sad. Was that just me? She looked a little... Her hip-hop moves were not as poppin' and lockin' as you see them on TV. She looked a little...
Yeah. So
I think she misses her belt.
She went away for a while, or is going away for a while, which is good, which makes me happy. I enjoy the focus on Carmella and Natalya and Charlotte
I miss
Flair.
James Ellsworth, though.
I know they referenced James Ellsworth on SmackDown Live.
I know, I heard.
Which was shocking, because normally when you're released from the WWE, you're dead. I mean, you could be alive, but you're dead.
You're spiritually dead.
Yeah, so...
Canonically dead.
So that shows how much they respect him. Is that they don't even give him a period of grieving.
And I really wanted another girl to beat him up, because the fight between him and Becky was better than I thought it would be. Like, I'm glad she didn't just squash him. I'm glad they actually had, a little back and forth. But he could have been better. I wanted to see round 2 of that.
Well, as I read and I shared with you, apparently the original plan for James Ellsworth was for him to transition into the women's division. That James Ellsworth was going to come out as trans, and he was going to compete in the women's division, and that at WrestleMania he would be facing Charlotte Flair for the SmackDown Live Women's Championship.
Which would have been so offensive.
Obviously, that is not happening now that James has been released, unless they've released James to allow him to do what Goldust wanted to do in the mid-90s and actually go and have a sex change.
if that's the case, it's much less offensive.
Because in the 90s,
although I do have questions.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many of our listeners go back that far. But yeah, in the 90s when Goldust, Dustin Rhodes, was really pushing the envelope with the androgynous character of Goldust, he apparently went to Vince and was like, hey, do you think I could get breast implants? And Vince was like, absolutely. And then he was like, hey, do you think the WWE can pay for my breast implants? And Vince was like, well, let's not go that route. We'll try something different. So
wait, Goldust is supposed to be androgynous?
He was when he first showed
now?
up. Not any longer. No.
Okay.
We've developed that character and given it more of a backstory.
No, James Ellsworth is actually getting a sex change. And he wants to come in, and this is all real, that's fine. But when you tell me that he wants to go fight as a woman, I don't picture him as a transsexual. I picture him as an asshole coming out in a skirt and saying, I'm a lady now. And the horrificness.
Yeah, I see Santina Morella version 2.0, which was not a good time for the WWE and the women's division. It was way before the women's revolution.
And the women's revolution needs some work.
It was a poor, I mean, it wasn't even good diva action in 2000 and
you know what I would have liked to have seen? 11. Is James Ellsworth versus Asuka. Asuka's gonna kill you.
Yeah, well, they gave Emma 15 minutes 2 nights in a row against Asuka before they released her, so they might have given James
which I'm very
some time.
Confused, because as a noob, I saw the whole Emma becoming Emelina, and then she comes out and she's like, I'm not gonna be Emelina, I'm gonna be Emma. And so that was very confusing. The Emelina, coming soon, and then she doesn't come. And then when Emma finally does come back, I'm like, okay, I don't know this lady. She seems fine. I like her look. She comes out, and then she's gone. Poof!
Well,
it's gone.
The story behind the Emelina character was that they wanted to repackage Emma. They gave her the Emelina character, and basically she was like, nah, I don't want to do this. And so that's why they kept pushing it back, was because they were trying to make it good. And she kept saying no, 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 and she just wasn't doing what the creative team had in mind for her.
Which is like poison death sentence.
Yeah, so she had a target on her back from that. And
so who became Emelina?
Lana.
I love Lana.
Dancing on a chair.
Dancing on a chair.
Dancing on a chair.
See, I want Lana to wrestle. I know the whole thing about, like, she's not a real wrestler. Maybe. I love it when she comes out. I think the fact that she's not a real wrestler is great. When she jumps and she holds onto the ropes and she just screams, no, 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 no. It's my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah, and Lana's getting her ring time on the house shows.
I saw aren't they planning a 3-against-3 match with the new ladies and her and Tamina and who else?
Carmella.
Is it Carmella?
Carmella.
All right, Carmella.
And no, it's not the match. That was to set up the Lumberjill match at Clash of Champions. So those ladies will be Lumberjills or Lumberjacks for the women's title match between Natalya and Charlotte Flair.
Can we segue real quick into the worst lumber match we've ever seen?
Oh, yes. Yes, we can. We can go back to WrestleCade for a moment.
Just a hot second here. Because I don't know how many of you are hockey fans, but we all know it's a Canadian sport. Boo.
It's an international sport. It's like
Canada.
Soccer.
It's Canada's sport.
Well, the Europeans
that and curling is Canada.
I love curling.
Okay, well, I'm glad you can start your practice for the Olympics, which Russia is banned from, apparently. But anyway, so we were at WrestleCade, and it was the second to last match of the entire weekend, and they had this hockey team come out.
It was a minor league affiliate in Greensboro. I'm not sure. Forget the name of the team.
Well, they had these poor little teenagey boys come out, and no one told them what a lumberjack match was. They said, go stand around the ring, and that's it. So they all go and stand around the ring, and the minute someone gets out, everyone in the audience is like, get him back in! Like, they're trying to explain the rules to the guys during the middle of the match. And there's this one little white boy who's like, yeah, I can do this. So he goes up and he grabs the wrestler who was 6 times his size by his shirt and kind of shakes him a little, and the wrestler just kind of pushes him, and he falls backward.
Yeah. It was one of those, like, we're going to play wrestler, and for those that are professional wrestling fans, you know that professional wrestlers don't play wrestler, that they get into this business because they love it. And if they don't love it, then they either develop a love for it or they're gone real quick. And so this kid was like, I'm going to play fight with you. No, you weren't. No.
And then it developed into the hockey team decided to actually brawl. There were punches thrown.
Yeah, so then, it turned into like a hockey fight.
It turned into a hockey fight with like a massive pit of just tiny little white boys. And the high point of that match was one of the hockey team members was wearing sunglasses at night, and the name on the back of his jersey was beer. So everyone just chanted for beer.
Everyone loved beer at WrestleCade.
Shocking. And then the old guy came out. Who was he again?
It was such an old school, like, territory thing, because the goalie was there in his helmet and full pads and everything. And from the moment that the goalie came out, everybody knew that the goalie was going to not be just the regular goalie, that there was something going on. Towards the end of the match, they didn't even allow all of the Lumberjacks to stay for the whole match. They sent him away before the end of the match, except for the goalie, who went into the ring and was going to give the stick to the good guy. And then the good guy, went to cheer the crowd up, and then the goalie hit the good guy in the back with the hockey stick, and he took off the hockey mask and the jersey, and it was George South.
Shock!
George South, the Southern wrestler. And I don't say that derogatory. I say that in terms of it's Southern wrestling, and just got that crazy Southern wrestling heat that happens if you ever watch Mid-South or
but that
Memphis
match
or whatever.
Was still better than the final match of the entire weekend, which was a Rumble match, which sucked.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of that, it was all of the undercard guys. Every single undercard guy was put into this Rumble match, and then the winner was going to get a shot at a championship. Why you wouldn't start the night with that match? I have no idea. I mean, I get it because the end of the match was a double over-the-top rope thing that didn't look good and didn't actually work. So I understand the way that they wanted, we'll set up a match between these two at our next show and then...
Come back in January. Yeah, we're not doing that.
Yeah, but, you don't do that with undercard guys. When Batista and John Cena went over the top rope together in the Royal Rumble, it was Batista and John Cena. When Bret Hart and Lex Luger went over the top rope together in the Royal Rumble, they weren't undercard guys. These guys were guys that nobody knew.
They were Skinny White Boy 1 and Roman White Boy 2.
Roman White Boy 2?
He had a Roman outfit. He had the little flap.
He had the little flap on his crotch.
The other one was just a Skinny White Boy.
I ran into him in the bathroom. We had a nice conversation. Not like that, you sickos. I don't do my business in the bathroom unless it's number 2. Duty.
So glad to be here today. Anyway, we bounced around a lot, but the point I wanted to come back to was Asuka because I love her. What was going on with Asuka versus Paige's crew? Absolution.
I think they are teasing Paige and Asuka and trying to get Asuka to join the group, which I think is fine.
I'm going to be real pissed if Asuka loses to anyone, though.
No, Asuka's not going to lose, but Asuka needs something to do until WrestleMania. Because at WrestleMania, Asuka's going to win the Women's Championship.
And then no one will ever win ever again.
But she needs something to do until then. And if we can go through... I mean, we're already in the middle of December. Raw doesn't have another pay-per-view until the Royal Rumble. So you'll see Asuka and Paige at the Royal Rumble. They'll get 15 minutes. They'll put on a hell of a show. And then we'll move on to Asuka winning some sort of a tournament or some sort of a women's battle royal. Something that's going to get her into the title picture.
to WrestleMania season. That's where they're going with this. They're going to drag out, is Asuka going to join? Is there going to be an alliance between her and the group? Eventually there'll be a melee that'll set up the match, and then it's a time killer.
Which is one of my problems with, like, well, we all know...
Probably will see a rematch at Fastlane, and that'll be that.
Well, we all know wrestling is still very sexist, but I almost wonder if it would be better if the women had their own show, or would it be worse? Because if the women had their own show, I know they were talking, and it kind of happened for like 2 seconds where they were bringing women to 205 Live. Please don't ever do that again.
Nia Jax.
Is she on 205 Live now?
That's,
she's not 205.
The rumor is that Nia Jax will be featured on 205 Live in a love story with Enzo that was set up on Monday.
Dear God, no.
That Nia has the hots for Enzo.
Why?
Because Nia has nothing to do currently. And so apparently...
So she's gonna do Enzo?
Yeah, apparently getting some heat off of Enzo is what they want.
Was that ba-doom shish for me? Or for you?
For everybody. That was my gift for everyone.
Great. But I wonder if it would be better because there's so much, like, every single week you got 3 hours of wrestling. Monday, Tuesday. Well, we watch more than that because you want to watch all the independent crap in the NXT. And by crap, I mean that lovingly. But I'm just saying, would it be better for the women to actually, get their own show? Because it's still a men's world show. For Raw and SmackDown.
You're not gonna have a women's only show the size of Raw or SmackDown.
No Glow?
No. I mean, even with Glow, it was small, and, yes, it didn't necessarily work out, but I could see the Mae Young Classic continuing. I could see another round of the Mae Young Classic, which did really well. And gave a lot of women opportunity to come and work with the WWE, and the WWE signed a lot of women. There are a lot of women under contract currently, so I can see that. The problem right now with the WWE is that they have a lot of talent, and they don't have the content for the talent because they're making cutbacks. If the WWE wanted to go all in, unfortunately,
and their storylines are weak.
Well, yeah, but you don't necessarily need a storyline. That's part of the thing, and it's not to be like, well, women are second best, so they don't get a storyline. No, sometimes it's the storyline is I want to see two people wrestle, and when you have a show like 205 Live, and that's the problem with 205 Live. It's the problem with 205 Live. It's the problem that we're facing currently in the UK division, and would be a problem if you had a women's show. Would be too much storyline. No, you can have two people wrestle. You can have two individuals go back and forth and tell a great story through the physicality and the art performance of professional wrestling. You don't need to have this one's fighting against this one because this one did this one to the... Leave
Slept
that
with her brother's sister's cousin's evil half-twin.
Yes. Leave that to Monday Night Raw. Leave that to SmackDown Live. Do some more of these shows.
Yeah,
and
but they keep...
Just person A versus person B and show a good show.
They keep pushing, though, the storylines. They constantly keep pushing storylines. It's why they keep bringing the Shield. It's why they have Absolution. It's why they have the Riot Squad. Because they need to have these storylines.
Because Vince loves the story. Vince is a story guy, and that's what Vince built his company on, was the story. When the WWF went national, it wasn't because they had the best professional wrestling. The NWA had the best professional wrestling, but the storyline, the characters were the WWF. And Vince was like, well, why change it? The Attitude Era was all storyline. The hottest time in the WWE, in the WWF, in professional wrestling in general, was storyline driven. So it's one of those things like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The problem is
broke, man.
That we have gotten to a point where it's broke because you have
You're feeding us broccoli.
Yeah, you have 50 creative team members every week. The promos all sound the same. The stories are reshuffled over and over and over again, and that's where you're losing the art form of professional wrestling. And that's why we're seeing, like we talked about in the last episode, the growth of the independents. And how strong the independent scene is because you can just have Cody Rhodes versus Dalton Castle at Final Battle next week, And it's going to be a good wrestling match. You can have Kenny Omega versus Chris Jericho and sell out the Tokyo Dome because that's what people want to see is the match. And yes, a story develops behind it. It's not story driven. The story comes later because people are excited for the match. And I think that if you had a woman only show, if you had the 205, real 205 live show, if you had the UK show, that you could have person A versus person B, have a match, and then develop the story behind it. You don't need to go in with the story first. So people, don't get released because of the old, well, creative doesn't have anything for you.
And we don't have these 5-minute promos where I walk out of the room because I'm bored. Like when Roman Reigns picks up the mic and I just walk away and then I come back 10 minutes later and he's still dogging.
Yeah.
He's still dogging.
Well, that's the problem with the 3 hours is that you have a lot of content to fill in the 3 hours. I do appreciate what they have done, and they've changed, the setup around where you're getting more main event quality matches earlier in the night, and then that final hour is kind of like, well, you can watch if you want to, or you don't really have to. I watched this week because Woken Matt Hardy closed the show. Got close to closing the show.
Now, is Woken Matt Hardy the crazy version of Matt Hardy?
Yes, Woken Matt Hardy is the WWE version of Broken Matt Hardy, and I swear to you, if I see fireworks being shot at somebody on WWE television, I will...
I will be complaining to the FCC, along with my arson comment.
For those of you that don't know, when Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy were with Impact and they started this gimmick, they were shooting fireworks at one another during a match and then continued to shoot fireworks at each other and others as the gimmick continued. So, it's an interesting gimmick. It's an interesting story. I'm excited to see where it goes.
I was excited to see him and Bray just going back and forth with the crazy.
Yeah.
A lot of crazy.
I don't think that Bray... I mean, I understand why they paired Woken Matt Hardy with Bray Wyatt, but unfortunately, I think that Bray Wyatt is such damaged goods that you're only going to do one of two things for him. Either, one, he's going to lose the feud, and he's going to continue to be pushed down the card into a nothing role, which is unfortunate, or two, he's going to win the feud, and people are going to be very angry that you have taken a character that grew a cult-like following out of TNA, out of the independent scene, and the WWE bastardized it. So neither option is good in terms of who wins the feud between Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt. Now, there is a possibility that Matt has been putting out tweets about getting more people into this war and creating a faction, which probably will be named one thing or two things. It was the Broken Brilliance when we were in Impact.
Now it'll be called the Woken Intelligence.
No, we'll probably go alliteration, so we'll have to do something with W. But anyway, if Bray joins Matt Hardy, then I think that that's fine. I think that that helps both characters. Now the question is, what is Jeff going to do when he comes back from injury? I would like to see Jeff pushed as a single star. We all know where the money is in terms of in-ring work is Jeff. It's always been Jeff. In terms of the brains behind the promotion, it's always been Matt. So if you put Matt in a tag team with Bray and then you let Jeff go, I think that you play to both of their strengths.
So keep your eyes peeled for the Woken Warriors Woken War.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. The Woken Warriors Woken War.
You're welcome.
Yeah, perfect. We're gonna copyright that. So as soon as the WWE takes it, we'll have the money. Great. So I think that we've covered a lot of topics in this episode. We've gone through a lot of different things. We talked about some women's wrestling. We talked about some silly stuff on the independent scene. We've talked about some serious stuff within the universe of the WWE. I think that this is a good time to call it quits. I would like to thank you for co-hosting with me this week, and hope to see you back in the co-host chair real soon. Here's a shout out to Ryan Richards. I look forward to talking with you too very soon.
Yeah, you watch, they'll hate me. They'll boo me off the show.
We'll get the most social media response ever.
You let a woman talk?
That's not true. For Sammy Rose, I am Christopher Andrews. Thank you for listening. Goodbye, everyone.
That's the end of this episode. In our next episode, we'll talk about wrestling. Oh man, it's crazy. Coming soon. All of our episodes are now available through our website. For links to those episodes, downloadable MP3s, our other social media websites, or if you're just a part of the universe and want to contact us, feel free to do so at theversespeaks.tumblr.com. That's TheVerse.tumblr.com.